If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
In this episode of Mind Pump,
Oh,
my goodness.
Coming in hot.
For the first 30 minutes, we have our introductory conversation. We talk about poor Jessica's inhaler scare and stimulant overdose.
I hate that feeling.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of fun.
Don't do drugs.
Then we talked about auto brewery syndrome.
This was fascinating to me.
Could be awesome or could be horrific.
Apparently, you can make your own alcohol in your body.
Yeah.
Then we talked about the spider-tailed horned viper and other fascinating animals.
Somebody's been watching Netflix.
Yeah, the shit that Justin watched on his free
random.
time.
Yeah.
And then we talked about Justin's trip and workout plans while on vacation. If you're listening to this episode the day it airs, he's already going to be on his vacation. Make sure you send him lots of DM questions so he has to work on it.
Oh, yeah. Just let them fly, man.
Just
I'll
kidding.
be answering for days.
Then we get into the questions. The first question was, what is our favorite cheat meal or food? What is our favorite food to eat and why? And what do we actually think about cheat meals or the concept of the cheat meal? Also, we do mention Organifi in that portion of this episode.
That's right, if you're going to do it.
Adam talked about taking the Organifi probiotic with his burger to prevent the diarrhea. If you go to Organifi.com/mindpump and enter the code mindpump, you will get 20% off. We also talked about pizza and how Justin can't stop eating it.
I fucking love it.
Now, you can get cauliflower crusts. That way you avoid the gluten and the calories.
There's a little hack for you.
One of our old partners, one of our good friends, cauliflowerfoods.com. That's Cali, like California. Cauliflower, flour as in the flour you used to bake. Foods.com. If you use the code MindPump, you get 20% off orders of $50 or more. The second question was, are collagen supplements all they say they are? You know, that stuff that you put in your bulletproof coffee in the morning, your 500-calorie shake?
Inject it in your lips.
Because you don't want to eat, apparently. Yeah. Then the next question was, how can a woman get her hormones back on track after stopping birth control? A lot of women find that their periods are irregular for a long time after birth control. What can they do to get things moving a little faster? And finally, the ultimate narcissistic question of all time.
Yeah.
Adam answers the question, would you date yourself? Yeah. Also, don't forget, we have a new site for all of our new bundles and programs. All of our new bundles and programs. All you got to do is go to mapsfitnessproducts.com. We have a lot of new bundles on there, like the Get Shredded Quickly bundle. We have one for people over 40. We have the Businessman bundle. We have the Old School Super bundle, which is a year of exercise programming. And then, of course, we have our independent MAPS programs, the most popular one being our foundational program, MAPS Anabolic. These are all programs designed to get you in amazing shape. Again, you can find all of them at mapsfitnessproducts.com. I didn't tell you guys what happened the other night.
What?
So Jessica's had a cold, right? Really bad. And she just usually doesn't get sick. She's got a pretty strong immune system typically. But her gut was off, and then she got a cold, which, you know, of course, your gut is a big part of your immune system, so she was susceptible. And she had this kind of nasty cold that's been, you ever get those colds that just linger for like a week?
Yeah, it's been going around right now. That's what I mean. I had that for a minute. Like we had Drew who had that.
Yeah, now I haven't gotten sick at all, which is weird because usually I'll get it first. But because of the contest we were doing and everything, my gut health's been really good, so I didn't get sick. But she got it, and she's been coughing. And she says when she gets colds that are really bad like this, a lot of times they settle in her lungs. And you know what happens when your phlegm settles in your lungs and doesn't move, it builds up, you know, bacteria can build up and then you can get bronchitis or an infection. So we're like trying to avoid that, right? So she's taking like Mucinex that thins the phlegm so she can clear it, and she's taking fenugreek, and, you know, we're doing all these different things. But she's been coughing and stuff a lot, and I'm like, you know, I bet you a little bit of my asthma inhaler, because I have an inhaler, it's a rescue inhaler. I never use it, but I have it there just in case because I grew up with asthma. So I've always got this inhaler just in case. And I probably use it now maybe once every 3 years or something like that. But I had it. So I'm like, you know, if you use this, it could help. Because I know a lot of times doctors will prescribe it to people when they have a really bad cold and are coughing. Because what it does when you inhale it, it's a powerful bronchodilator. Opens up your bronchial tubes. And then you can breathe and clear out what's in there. And that'll help. The theory is, or at least this is what I was told, so maybe it's changed now, but it helps prevent infection because then things can clear out. But, and it's made with albuterol. Now, albuterol is I think it's a beta agonist. It's like clenbuterol, the fat burner that bodybuilders would use. Clenbuterol was an asthma medication. Albuterol is the legal version in America. And what these substances do is they not only do they, dilate your bronchial tubes, but they also
raise your heart rate up.
Yeah, it's like a stimulant. It could be a stimulant, and it can be a weird one, and people react kind of differently to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, well, how much do I take? And I'm like, well, it's 2 puffs. That's the normal dose, so why don't you do that? And so she did it in the morning, and about 10 minutes later, she's like, I feel really shaky. I'm like, oh, well, that's one of the side effects of it, because sometimes when you take it, you'll feel kind of shaky and weird. Right. Then it kind of, you guys ever use it before?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay, so you know what it feels like.
Yeah.
Later on that night, she was coughing again because it must have wore off or whatever. So right before bed, she's like, should I use it again? I'm like, well, I said, it might impact your ability to sleep because it might make you kind of wired. She's like, yeah, but I don't want to cough or whatever. I'm like, all right, well, go ahead and use it and see what happens. Well, it didn't react well with her the second time, and it almost gave her like a panic attack because it made her heart beat so fast. So for like 30 minutes, she was sitting there trying to calm down and stuff from this fucking medication.
Dude, that's a horrible feeling, man.
Yeah.
I've gone through that a couple times. And either it's like ephedra or one of those like type of...
Ephedra a beta agonist.
Yeah, stimulants where I was just like, wow, that was way too much. Like it just was like, it does it. Like you feel your chest like really like tightening up and you just feel restrictive and just panic starts setting in.
What happens is you create and this is how panic attacks happen, right? Or anxiety attacks. It's a positive feedback loop. It's like it's no different than when you have when you have a microphone and you bring it next to the speaker and it goes real loud.
Yeah.
It's because the microphone is picking up small sounds. The speaker's amplifying it.
Right.
The sound comes out of the speaker,
it gets louder,
goes into the microphone,
pitched.
and just cycles into this loud sound. That's called a positive feedback loop.
It keeps growing.
Well, what happens when you start to physically feel anxious? Like if I gave you a drug right now that made your heart pound, made you sweat a little bit and feel shaky, is if you interpret it as, oh my God, what's wrong with me? I'm getting anxious. You start to get anxious over the physical feeling of anxiety.
That exponentially, it accelerates.
Then the physical aspects get worse. Yeah. Then you start to perceive it as worse, and it just becomes this, and so she started doing that.
That sucks.
Yeah, dude. So we went downstairs, drank some chamomile tea, took some kava, some theanine,
Was she able to sleep?
She was fine. It took about 20 minutes. And then she calmed down, and then my poor girl, she was so thankful. She's like, I'm so happy you were here. I'm so thankful. I'm like, listen, you're totally fine. It's not I've been there before. I know what that feels like.
I made a mistake the first time I ever fucked with clenbuterol. I didn't read the MCGs correctly.
Oh no!
And I had like 4 times the dose that I was supposed to have.
What was that like?
Like fucking way scary. Like I could feel my heart like just pounding out of my
I'm
chest.
gonna have a heart attack.
Yeah, it was really, really scary because it's like that feeling that you're talking about. It's like times 10 with clenbuterol.
Yeah. Well, because what the old the way that they used to administer these drugs was orally. So, and that's how bodybuilders use clenbuterol. They don't inhale it. They eat it. Yeah, they eat it, right? And when you eat it, it gets into it permeates your system a little bit more, and it's longer lasting, which is better for the fat burning effects, but not as good if you want to eliminate the side effects. And then they invented the inhaler or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, taking clenbuterol orally, especially if you take too much.
Oh yeah,
that's not a good.
Too much. Shot it underneath my tongue, trying to get into it even faster, and then it's like,
shit.
Yeah, it wasn't very long before I was like, holy crap, this is crazy.
What's the most scared you've ever been
from taking something?
After taking something.
To be honest, the scariest I ever had was and I've talked about
for me.
Oh no. Yeah. So, well, that was scary, but not as scary as actually and we've talked about this on the show, was when I took 6 hydroxycuts and 4 speed stacks on the same day.
Shit.
And I remember laying in bed at 3-4 o'clock in the morning. This was when I was in my early 20s. This was like the beginning of 24 Fitness days when we used to do that. And we've talked about this on the show before. I remember laying there 3-4 o'clock and just staring at my ceiling and knowing that I had been going since 5 a.m. earlier, so your previous day almost, right? So almost 24 hours of like grinding, working all day long, and knowing that I should be exhausted, but laying in the bed and just feeling my heart go, and just get to the point where it was freaking me out that I'm like laying down made it almost seem worse because I could hear and feel everything. So I just got up and showered and went back to the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning.
You might as well get work done, right?
No, it's exactly what I did because it was worse laying there. And that was the first time I ever kind of scared myself taking something that I thought, oh shit, I really overdid this. But I've never, other than the marijuana stories, like even the drugs that I've experimented with, I tend to, especially since my experience with things like the ephedra and experience with marijuana where I overdid it, I'm more likely to not do enough to really feel it than I am to overdo it.
That's just comes from experience.
Yeah,
because when you're younger, you take something, you wait 10 minutes. I don't feel it. Take more. I did the same thing with, the funniest thing was when my dad one night calls me at, I don't know what time it was. Must have been like 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning, calls me up, and I'm like freaking out. You get a phone call from your parents at that time, you start to freak out. So I answer the phone, like, what's up? And he goes, I cannot sleep. I cannot sleep. I said, what's the matter? He's like, I don't know, my heart's beating fast, whatever. And I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong with my dad? I'm like, and I'm going through all these different things, like, what about this? What about that? What are you doing? I said, okay, take your pulse. And then it dawned on me, and I'm like,
I took 4 Viagra.
No. Your mother, she can't sleep either.
She keeps telling me, leave her alone. Leave her alone.
Nobody can sleep.
I'm really handsy.
What do I do with this? No, he and I know my dad very well. So then it dawned on me. I'm like, did you go to the gym today? This was like, I don't know, 7 years ago. Like, did you go to the gym today? He's like, yeah, I did. I'm like, what did you take anything before you went to the gym? He goes, yeah. Like, well, what did you take?
Joe Donnelly's pre-workout.
Yeah, I'm like, what did you take? And he goes, oh, it's these pills. I said, what do they look like? And he goes, they're yellow. There's a picture of I'm like, Yellow Jacket? Did you take the Yellow Jacket?
Like the trucker pills?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
He's like, yeah. I said, yeah, you're not. I said, you'll be fine. So you're gonna have to wait. I said, drink a bunch of chamomile tea. You'll probably be. And then I talked to him the next day, and I was like, what were you thinking? He's like, man. He goes, my friend gave me these pills, and he said, if you take one, you'll have the best workout. So I took 2 naturally. You can see who I took after. And he goes, man, I went to the gym. He goes, I worked out like an animal. He's like, I put the whole stack on the pec deck. He's like, I felt like, then I come home and then I can't sleep because I'm just thinking all night. I'm like, yeah, don't ever do that again.
Isn't that crazy? Back when, I don't know if they have that available anymore. I know that they took like ephedra off the shelves from a lot of like the GNCs and whatnot, but like you would go to a 7-Eleven or you'd go to like any gas station and these fucking truckers had like methamphetamines available like in all different kind of shapes and sizes. Just because like nobody wants a trucker to be like falling asleep at the wheel.
They had them what they call mini
thins.
Mini thins.
We took those before a football game one time, right? And so, oh my God, dude, like the best first half I've ever played in my life. I went down like with the foam coming out of my mouth, just to making tackles left. I've probably had like 25 tackles in the first half. Second half, total crash, total disaster. Like that just totally came down like super fast.
Oh, that stuff's crazy.
It was brutal.
I used to mess with that shit all the time when I was like, and it's funny. I couldn't even handle it today. What I used to take back then. Yeah. I don't know what it is. If you just get older and your body, or if my body's like I fried half of it.
Well, I also think too that you're also cautious not to overuse it, where I think before we just use so much that stuff, your body gets adapted, down regulates, and then you don't get affected by it as much, right?
Yeah, I remember you would take it and you'd feel it, but then you take it every day and then you stop.
Right, like I remember it was like staple. I mean, I went multiple years.
Bro, didn't you buy loads of
No, we used to drive to LA. This is how much we used to buy. This is no exaggeration.
Oh, you got me addicted to them.
So Mark used to have a connection down in LA with a guy who owned a GNC, and he basically would give us speed stacks for like a few cents over cost because we would buy them by the cases, right? And we would load. So we drove down from San Jose down to LA one weekend, and we loaded his entire back bed of his truck of cases of speed stacks. So because we were getting them at cost pretty much. Because we were drinking, I mean, each of us were drinking 2 of them minimum a day, sometimes 4 on a crazy day. So minimum 2 a day from both of us. That's 4 a day we're going through these suckers.
How else are we going to go to Hawaii?
Right. So we drove down there. I used to have in my room.
God, I miss those feelings.
At my house, I had a spare refrigerator in my office, and it was dedicated to speed stacks. And we drank them. So it was like, for me, it got to a point where my body was so adapted to it. It was no different than having a cup of coffee, was having 2 of these things. If I were to feel them, I'd have to drink 4, right? So if I wanted to get the amped up feeling that I got from 1 back in the days, I'd have to drink 4 of those things.
I'm trying to look online to see what the old, I know what the old Speed Stack used to have was.
They had it all.
It was ephedra, caffeine, and aspirin. It actually had the legit
the trifecta.
Yeah, and it was 25 milligrams of ephedra alkaloids, which back then the law said that you could max out at 25 milligrams of ephedra. So back then there were laws.
Yeah.
But they didn't say you couldn't sell it. They just said that was the max that you could. So that's what was in the bottle.
Okay.
But I distinctly remember. I even remember
all you
what
had to do is drink 2. Yeah.
I even remember what it tastes like. I can actually taste it right now if I think about it.
Yeah.
They weren't that tasty.
No.
They had a weird aftertaste.
It was like really watered down cough syrup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you drink it and maybe 15 minutes.
Sky high.
You're so on fire.
Like running.
Oh, dude. I combined a Speed Stack with Yohimbi because I, through my amateur chemistry, realized that I'm like, Yohimbi works like this, and if I combine it with that
lizard toads, and you're just throwing it in your cauldron.
That should give me a better effect. And I was like what you did, Adam. I was in bed at home, and I remember contemplating, like, do I tell my mom to take me to the hospital, but then she'll know?
Yeah.
And do I like wait it out, and am I going to survive? You know what I mean? It was one of those things. But
dude, have you guys ever heard of auto brewery syndrome? Auto brewery syndrome.
No.
What is that?
It's crazy, right? So I was watching this documentary, and there's all these weird, wild, like odd facts that they're bringing up, and one of them was this condition where this guy was like really suffering. Like they would give him carbs, just any regular carbs, any like spaghetti or like bread or any kind of grains or whatever, and it was within like a couple hours where he just would experience like everything you'd see somebody who was like super intoxicated and inebriated.
From carbs?
Yeah, from carbs.
Oh, he's fermented. I've heard of this.
Yes.
His body ferments the carbs and produces alcohol.
They had no idea that was what was happening, though.
I've read about this before.
Yeah, so
This is a real thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very rare.
So you get drunk off of carbs?
You eat carbs and your body ferments it and turns it into alcohol, and you get smacked.
There's some sort of ratio with yeast, like his body was producing that too, like contributed to this whole process. But it's basically like he has a brewery, internally, and like he was like converting it to like some kind of ethanol alcohol. And anyway, so he's like and then of course, like, if you think about it and you don't know where it's coming from and you're just fucked up, like he got like really drunk, and he's just sitting there trying to like work, or he's trying to drive and he just can't drive, and he's like eating normal, like he's just normally eating like what everybody else is eating, and he's just like super intoxicated.
What?
Yeah, and it was like he
How
would
rare is
slur
this?
his speech, he was acting like aggressive, like, and his wife's relationship with him was like suffering, like all these kinds of things were happening from eating carbs.
They call it auto brewery.
Auto brewery syndrome. I was like, at first it'd be like, oh, awesome, like.
Does that mean he pees out beer?
Yeah, right. I wonder.
Is more than one person have this? Is just one rare case?
Yeah,
or there's lots of people.
I mean, not a lot of people. It's a very rare condition.
I'm gonna look it up
but
right
I just
now.
thought it was super
I'm
fascinating.
gonna look it up right now.
You gotta
auto
look
brewery
it up.
syndrome, also known as gut fermentation syndrome, is a rare medical condition in which intoxicating quantities of ethanol are produced through endogenous fermentation within the digestive system. One gastrointestinal organism, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, is type of yeast, has been identified as a pathogen for this condition. One case went undetected for 20 years.
20 years of feeling like messed up, but like he didn't even drink. Yeah, like
how bad would this suck? Imagine this: you're at your girlfriend's house or whatever, and her parents make you a nice dinner, and you eat a nice big bowl of pasta.
Yeah,
they're like, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Then you turn into like the biggest
I appreciate
dick
everything.
ever. Yeah.
Then you drive home, and a cop pulls you over. You do a breathalyzer. You're fucking DUI.
Yeah, DUI. Just
DUI.
like that. From pasta.
I didn't drink. Yeah, right. Tell that to the judge. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he must have been like, imagine like going to Thanksgiving, Christmas, like whatever, like, and you're hanging out with all your family, and like there's like, and you're eating, and then you're just kind of sitting there and you're just getting way too smashed, like saying inappropriate things to grandma, and it's all because of this.
Lucky guy.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
He's a cheap date though.
He would be a cheap date.
Yeah. That would be.
I was like,
Where did you see that? You were watching a documentary?
Yeah, I was watching, and they have a lot of really random like facts about all kinds of stuff. Another one that was really fascinating for me, I'm trying to remember the name of this snake. It was like a species of snake I've never even heard of that had like the coolest attribute. Like it had evolved to basically lure birds to it, and it shows like, so it's a spider-tailed horn viper. So the spider-tailed part is the most fascinating. So it basically, what it does is it has these prongs on the end of its tail, like almost like a rattlesnake would, but they look like spider legs. And what it does is it rolls its tail kind of like in a bug-like fashion.
Like scooping stuff?
Yeah, it just flicks it around so it looks like this spider's jumping. And what it does is it actually first attracts another spider I don't know if it's in the desert, but a specific type of spider it attracts, and then the spider, like, I don't know, tries to mate it or whatever, gets onto the end of its tail. Locks this spider in its tail, and then it uses that as a lure. And then what happens is the bird comes to go eat, because you don't really see it because it's really camouflaged. The bird comes to eat the spider, and then boom, it eats the bird.
Shit.
So I was like, holy shit.
So it's using another organism as bait.
Yeah, a bait. And they showed some examples of, like, in the deep where they have those.
Oh, they have it up there. Doug just pulled it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
So now I think I've seen pictures of the snake before, but I don't know if I've ever seen it hunt before like this.
Oh, dude, it is fucking fascinating. It's worth a watch, dude.
Yeah, animals are weird. They're crazy, man.
What a very specific adaptation that works really well for them.
Yeah, have you guys? I mean, you guys have seen those bugs that look like plants. You ever seen those? Where it looks like an actual plant. Look at that.
That's an actual spider at the end of that, like with the butt of it. It like locks it in.
So he captured it and now is using it as bait.
Yeah.
That's super fascinating.
That's fucked up.
Now,
do you imagine what if animals adapted or evolved so fast that they started doing that to humans? Like a bear. Like a bear has a cheeseburger paw.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, oh shit.
You're fat.
You're like, there's a cheeseburger in the woods. Johnny,
I'm hungry. Yeah.
Don't do it. It's a bear.
There'll be signs everywhere.
Yeah,
don't take the burger.
Or or like a leopard looks like a hot chick.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, it's more like sirens, back in the day.
Yeah. Old cartoons were like that. Remember when they always dress up like a girl to fuck with the other guy?
Right, like Bugs Bunny.
Who would ever think that a snake would have the ability to catch a bird?
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't even think that, right? You wouldn't even think that a bird would be at risk to a snake.
Yeah.
What are some of the craziest animals you guys can think of? You know what's crazy to me? You guys ever see mountain goats?
Yeah, the way they climb hills.
Yeah.
Bro, climb hills. They climb walls.
Yes, I mean, it's crazy.
With their little toes?
With their ability to do it.
Oh, and they're balancing on like the side of a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
That is some
you guys have, so this is my thing, right? And I'm curious if you guys have the same thing. So I have Katrina will leave the room, or she does not have the patience for watching like Planet Earth or I love that stuff.
I love it.
There's nothing.
Now, do you watch it sober, or do you have to be?
No, I don't have to. I don't have to be high, but let's be honest, it's fucking better.
It's fun when you're lifted.
Let's be honest. You got the crazy high def going on, and you're a little.
So now you got Netflix and ease.
Yeah.
Right?
Right? Yes. Yeah. Right.
There's our new hashtag.
Yeah. Netflix and chill. Netflix and
Blaze.
ease. Yeah. Netflix and ease.
Yeah.
I like that. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
No. So that's my show that Katrina doesn't like. She is, we have a lot of shows we watch together, and if I watch a show that we watch together, she gets mad at me if we don't watch it together, right? Where I have a couple shows that I can watch where I know she's not going to give me a hard time. In fact, she'd rather not be there, and that's one of them. Do you guys have shows that you guys watch that your girls are like, I don't want to watch that?
Yeah. Usually it's the violent ones, like Walking Dead. I had to watch, like, she was with me on it for the first 2 seasons, and then she was just like, that is just too much for me. Like, I'm abandoning. Like, I'm leaving you alone.
I'm out of this one.
I'm like, no, because the worst part is, like, you have to go through all those emotions and, like, the stress and the trauma of it by yourself. Like, what the fuck? Like, oh, did you see what happened to Glenn? No! Like, you're just by yourself.
I like, same thing here, scary stuff stuff for me. Scary stuff Jessica won't watch.
Oh, she don't like scary stuff?
No, she can't do it. But I love really, really good, terrifying. But it has to be good.
Right. I like being the thrilling, not so much like the super gore, but
no, it's got to be good.
Yeah, suspenseful, like scary shit.
And I also like really like hardcore sci-fi type shit. And Jessica doesn't like that.
There's another one I have to watch by myself.
Yeah, see, I know you and I got excited that one night when we watched. But it was a stupid one.
That's the worst because it was like it started out super good, this movie we were watching, and then it got really weird.
There's a lot of sci-fi movies like that where you're watching it and it's good and the premise is good, and then they just fucking jump the shark every time.
Yeah.
There was one when I was a kid.
Got uncomfortably weird.
Do you guys remember the movie? Maybe you guys can remember this. And there was it's got to be the 80s, either 80s or early 90s, where this one kid, they play video games or whatever, and this one kid with his computer, he's really brilliant. He creates something where the computer creates this like bubble in space, and they figure out a way to make a spaceship and put this bubble around it, and then he can just enter coordinates on his computer, and they can fly all around.
That's not Flight of the Navigator?
No. That was a good one, though.
Yeah.
Is that the one where the silver spaceship and the spaceship has an eye?
That's Flight of the Navigator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
No, it didn't have an eye. Did it have an eye? No, you're thinking War of the Worlds.
Oh, yeah.
Is it War of the Worlds that has the silver spaceship with the eye? It has like and it talks to him?
Oh, no, you are thinking Flight of the Navigator.
Right? It talks, right?
Yeah. That was really good.
Yeah.
But the one I'm thinking is something else, and then they meet the aliens, and they're the dumbest aliens ever. I'm like, this is stupid.
Is that the worst?
This movie was so good until you get stupid aliens.
You ruined it.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, though? What if that, we always speculate on that, like if we were to potentially find, artificial, or not artificial touch, but intelligence out there, right? Somewhere else out there. That we assume that it would be smarter than us, but what if we actually found it's dumber than us?
Dumber, less evolved.
Yeah, it's less evolved. We actually get to them.
Bunch of Homer Simpsons. Yeah. Fuck, I'm not impressed. I'm out of here.
Well, we would have to find them then, right?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, because if someone found us, I think we'd be pretty much the dumb ones. If they were able to travel and find us, I think we'd be fucked.
We'd be screwed.
Yeah, but that Flight of the Navigator was a great movie. I'm glad you brought that up. I haven't shown my kids that movie yet.
It's a good kid movie.
That's a really good one. What are some other good films from our childhood that...
Well, E.T. is always awesome. But,
has your kids seen that yet?
Yeah, they've seen it. You know what's funny about that? Because they do have like bad words in it, and and they have the specific scene where he like kisses the girl and he feels feelings. Like there's a lot of sexual tension. Like leading up to that.
And E.T.?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I didn't remember that either.
It's weird. The old movies allowed, I feel like, more bad language for kid movies.
And their mom left them by themselves, to just like...
Well, that was normal.
That was back in the day.
I know, but it's like crazy to see that now. It's like they were all just fending for themselves.
You irresponsible mom. No, that's how they did it back then.
Talk about the evolution of movies that I thought was that we just have seen in the last 5 years or so. Like now you see in movies, how common is it, you guys see this in new movies, where a scene will show the text messages pop up on the... So like if you'll see a character using their phone and texting, and then you get to see the little bubbles pop up.
Oh, yeah.
Like we didn't see anything like that just like 5-6 years ago, and now...
Oh, it's a whole new way, to communicate.
Right, almost every movie shows the text messages.
Well, what's crazy about that, nobody predicted that we'd be using phones like that.
Right.
Why not? It seems like it'd be so logical.
It doesn't make any... It actually doesn't... If you think about it back then, so put your when you were a kid or 20 years ago.
It sounds like we're going backwards.
It does. Like, why wouldn't you just talk?
Right.
Yeah, why would you send a message, a written message?
Yeah, we thought that everybody would be a hologram. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? That's like...
Well, it turns out most people don't want to be seen and don't want to see other people when they talk to them. Because I can do that on my phone now. I can do video.
True. You want to be dismissive about it.
I don't video anyone when I talk to them on the phone.
Yeah.
Especially people I don't know very well. I don't want to be like, hey, who are you? Oh, shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? You'd rather not do that.
Actually, that's awkward for me. I don't know if this is a thing or not, but I know some people like to introduce other people through video and text now. Like, hey, I'm so-and-so, and like a video of it. And then the other person chimes in video.
What? That's
hey,
weird.
nice to meet you. And I'm like, am I supposed to follow suit with this? Like, I don't want to do that. I
so
felt like
weird.
really awkward.
Yeah, I showed my kids Teen Wolf the other day. You guys remember that?
I love that
Yeah,
movie.
with Michael J. When's the last time you guys watched it?
Not in a long ass time.
Yeah, dude, you can really see a difference in the way, like we're watching it, and as we're watching, remember the scene where he jumps up on his buddy's van and they're pretending to surf down the street?
Yeah.
I remember thinking that was so cool when I was a
whoa.
kid. No, my kids are like, that's dangerous. They would get
Like, why would you do that?
they
So
would get
frivolously?
arrested. And I thought about this. If you got on the top of your buddy's car and drove around and surfed it in 1984, the worst thing that would happen is a cop would pull you over and tell you to cut it out.
Like, hey, stop that, you mangy kids.
Get in the car and stop and get your ass home.
Right,
Sorry,
right.
officer. If you did that today, you'd get thrown in jail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you were on the top of a car riding down the fucking road,
Not only that, the person driving would be like, go to jail too.
you would.
Yeah.
It's very, very different.
There's different times. Man.
Yeah, very, very different times. Anyway, so what you guys' training going to look like? Actually, I got to ask you, Justin, because you're
Yeah.
going to be gone when this airs. You're going to be in.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are you going to train while you're gone?
And I loosely
Besides
have that
your liver?
plan. Yeah.
I loosely had that plan.
I loosely have that plan. When I arrive, I'm actually I found a good spa that has infrared sauna.
Oh, you're gonna do that.
So I'm gonna do that.
Oh, good. Do that.
first thing, and I'm gonna video it. And
To help your circadian rhythm.
I'm gonna try it out. I know like a couple people have mentioned that as like
Yes,
really
do that
working
because
for
I
them.
want to see what that. I want to hear from you how that makes a difference. I know Ben is all about it, but
Yeah, because I'm literally landing like the next day, so I have to like sleep through the whole night to get there.
Are you guys doing a red eye or something?
Yeah, well, we're leaving at like technically it's like 5, I think, and then it goes into the next day. We land there somewhere around.
Now,
like
are you gonna
8
are you
in the
gonna try
morning or
and
something.
fall asleep real hard right when you get on the plane, or try and stay awake?
Yeah, I don't think that's possible. I think I'll probably stay awake until my body's just like, all right, and then I'll pass out. Maybe take an edible or something.
Yeah, on the plane.
Do something like that, to just help the process. But yeah, I'm planning that for sure when I land, and then after that, I mean, we're gonna be walking everywhere. But I'm gonna look, and I'm gonna be on the hunt for a couple places to train. Even if I could get in 2 to 3 lifts while I'm out there, I'll be happy.
I love going to gyms in other places,
Yeah.
especially if it's in another country, because there's a
Just
little
to check it out, it'll be
Yes.
an experience.
there's a
And
little
Courtney's
bit
down,
of a different vibe in every gym that you go to, but especially when it's in another country, you can kind of see.
maybe I'll just lift rocks and fucking throw them, dude.
Bro,
like the
I wonder.
Highlanders.
I don't know. I get and this is a stereotype, right? But I'm picturing that, right? I'm picturing like a
Yeah.
fucking dungeon,
Oh,
but it's probably going to be like a
I
posh
love it.
fitness gym.
I'm gonna have to ask Matt Vincent. Maybe he'll know because he's spent a lot of time.
So when you do work out like that, since you're gone for 2 weeks and you may be only going to get a few workouts, you just do like super intense full body type stuff.
yeah, super intense, full body, and like before we go, like tomorrow in the morning, I'm gonna get a real hard lift in because I hate flying like off. Of,
Stuck in this
Yeah.
one chair the whole
at
time.
least then my body feels like it did something.
Yeah.
And I can kind of that'll carry me at least a day or two, and then I can, figure the rest out from there.
Yeah.
But I plan on being active, dude. This inspired me, this competition. I don't want to completely throw that in the garbage can. So I'm in, man.
Yeah. So, see, Jessica she's super into fitness too. So when we travel, we tend to make it a priority. But what we do is we like to wake up early, train, and then afterwards
And
we
then walk the rest of the day.
and then we have the whole day to ourselves. And it's nice because it gets you out, gets you where you want to go. And
That's what I want to do.
so-
Even if it's got to be, in this back, there's this deck, this first Airbnb we're staying at. It's like right in Edinburgh. It looks, you could literally see the castle like right behind us. So I plan on having coffee. Then even if I have to, I'll just do a full body workout there with bands.
do Airbnb
Get it
Airbnb is destroying the hotel market.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It doesn't make any sense to get a hotel
It's
if you're gone
silly.
for a length of period of time.
Half the price and way more convenient, and like it's interesting.
You know what I want to do? I want to, because I think the next big trip, I think all of us should travel together. Take the wives and girls and maybe even the kids, go somewhere, book an Airbnb for like 10 days or 14 days or whatever. But then it gives us the opportunity to work because we're all together. So we could bring our podcasting equipment.
Yeah.
We could podcast, do whatever, and then just enjoy, the trip with everybody together. It's nice whenever we don't get it together enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be down for that.
Well, it's tough coordinating everything when you, especially when you talk about families and kids and everybody else like that.
But that's why I think it'll be better, right?
That would be the best way to do it. Would be just to make it a work event. You know, you just say, hey, I would like to do that around something. Like I would, we've got a ton of people that want us to come out to the Arnold. Either out, go out there and stay out there for a week so we could go to an event and we could podcast.
Create content around events.
Or we've had a lot of people in Australia. We have a big listenership out there. So I think going
England,
out there.
we have a huge audience in the UK.
So going somewhere like that where we can double down, right? We can turn it into an event where we're going out there and speaking. And then in addition to that, we could podcast. And then we can also
what else would be fun too is
Definitely.
like, this is just popping in my head. Like if we did that and we had a house and we were all in it with the girls and the kids and all that. It sounds like a lot of fun. I had friends, a couple friends that did this while they were on vacation. They went to Italy with other groups of people. So there was like 4 couples, and they rented a house in Florence. And one of the things that they did is they paid a chef to come to the house and then teach them how to cook like an amazing dish, and then they all ate it together. How fun does that sound when you have a big group together?
That'd be rad.
Yeah, so like everybody got to cook with the chef in the Airbnb or whatever they had. Doesn't that sound like a great fucking time?
No, it's cool.
With some wine and whatever. I think that'd be great.
I would be
Hell
down.
yeah.
Let's do it.
This Quah is brought to you by Organifi. For those days you fall short on getting your organic veggies or whole food nutrition, Organifi fills the gap with laboratory-tested certified organic superfoods to help give your health and performance the added edge. Try Organifi totally risk-free for 60 days by going to Organifi.com. That's Organifi.com. And use the coupon code MINDPUMP for 20% off at checkout.
Our first question is from Iron Crew Athletics. What is your favorite cheat meal or food?
Cheat meal.
Pizza wins.
Yeah, 100%.
I can't even think of. I mean, I love burgers too.
I was going to say, the first thing that I had after this competition was, and we had it all planned out. Like Katrina and I, we went and picked up some doubles from In-N-Out, washed it down with my Organifi probiotics.
Oh, thank God.
Did it help?
Always, dude. I'm telling you right now, that has been one of the staple things that you turned me on to when we first got sponsored by them. Because before that, it was like I wasn't really taking anything like that. I didn't really use it. I was like, whatever. But if I know I'm going to eat off the plan, that anything that compromises my stomach or will make me in the restroom, half hour later, and I know it, which pizza would be in there, burgers would be in there, things like that. It totally mitigates that. It makes a big difference for me. It
does.
Yeah.
I like burgers a lot, but I'd have to say pizza. I just can't have pizza. Pizza destroys me.
Yeah, but your pizza is like no cheese. What does it look like?
No. I'm talking real pizza, obviously. If I'm talking about my favorite cheat meal.
Yeah.
I just can't have it because cheese and bread fucks me up.
Well,
but
really
if I could.
it's really not a cheat meal for you then.
I can't count it just because
you
don't even eat it.
So the reason why we pick a burger, I picked that because it is a very consistent, like, quote unquote, and I hate using cheat meal, right? I do not like saying cheat meal, but I know it's become such a fucking popular term in the space.
Yeah.
But it's when I'm eating off my plan, or I'm indulging, or I'm over consuming, and I'm aware of it and what I'm doing. My go-to are burger and fries, and besides loving the taste of it, what switched me that direction instead of like pizza or things like that is, there's still a lot of nutritional benefit to a burger. A good burger, a good In-N-Out burger is still 40 grams of protein, and be able to get that much protein in a meal that you really, really enjoy can be tough to do. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's been one of those meals that, I feel does the least amount of damage to me, and I feel like I'm totally overindulging.
Yeah, that's probably mine then too, because I can't have pizza. If that's the case, I can't have pizza. It'll kill me. So it's either going to be a burger without cheese, or honestly, not going to lie, a fucking big ass ribeye steak with baked potato and butter. Like good old fashioned steak and potato is one of my absolute favorite things I could possibly eat. Pizza was always my absolute favorite. I loved pizza until it just wrecked me and I can't even do it anymore.
Well, yeah, that's the sad part, is that I would eat it and know I was going to get like the aftermath of it, and still just like, no, I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
And then just punish myself again. So I've actually tried, eating it again with like gluten-free crust, which is like, it's a compromise, like it doesn't make it like that much better, but it's at least it it mitigates a little bit of the effects for me as far as like heartburn. All these.
Do you guys still? Do you either one of you guys still order the cauliflower foods pizza crust? I still get those.
I wish we got them sent here more because I love those and I would eat those all the time with my kids.
We order them still from. I know we have a discount. I know they hooked the Mind Pump fans up. I know that. And it's something that I
forgot all about that.
Yeah, it's really simple and light. Like, and I feel great afterwards when I eat it. It's totally guilt free.
Well, it's vegetables.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about cheat meals, because I know, especially people in the fitness space, or especially in the bodybuilding or bikini competitor space, they structure their diets and include
they do like
what they
donuts
call,
and like just shit like that.
Well, I don't like calling things cheat meals because first off, I'm not cheating on anyone. I'm not cheating on it's not like I made this vow and I'm cheating on it.
Right.
I just consider it food with consequences.
Yeah.
All foods have consequences. Sometimes the consequence is it's not the tastiest thing in the world. Sometimes it's like, okay, this is good, but I could be eating something that tastes way better. So the consequences I'm sacrificing a little bit of that, hyper palatability. On the other end of the scale, I made something that's hyper palatable, but the consequence is maybe poor digestion or
little nutritional
higher calories and lower nutritional
it's
value.
Entertainment food.
Yeah,
I look at it as like party food. If I'm at like a party, I'm gonna drink a little bit. If I'm at if I'm in a festive mind, I'm gonna eat some pizza or do something that's like not something I would eat on the regular.
I treat it like this, like, especially when I'm training and I'm trying to fuel my body properly. Like for example, we just in the 6-week competition. So every choice that I made was I was making it that was ideal for what I was trying to do. I was trying to build muscle. I was trying to burn body fat. So everything that I consumed over the last 6 weeks, I took that into consideration. Every time I ate, every time I sat down and ate, I didn't just eat what was in the refrigerator. I didn't just eat whatever. It was, I know what I need to eat based off of what I've been consuming and my goals. Therefore, I'm sticking to that, right? And that was taken into consideration. Now, there's other times when I don't take that into consideration. When I say, I don't care about my fitness goals right now. Right now, I'm going to feed something else, another pleasure of mine, which is the social aspect or enjoying, the fact that Katrina and I have gone 6 weeks of dieting really well. And it's like, hey, when was the last time we sat down, we watched a movie and we had a burger together? Like we had and that is something that I want to do. So it's really just, you're feeding a different part of you. Now, like anything else, I think you can abuse these things. And I think that that's where people go wrong and this is also why I don't like to schedule a cheat meal or a cheat day in my week every week, because then it would be like drugs. Like, me, I'm open about drug usage and I don't condone anybody who parties and does things like that. But I would never say every Saturday is my cocaine day. You know what I'm saying? Like that, I would never set myself up that way. That I would say schedule in doing something that I know is not
Cocaine Saturday. Hey, I'm coming over.
Can you imagine if someone told you that?
Because Cocaine Saturday turns into Cocaine Sunday, then Monday, then Tuesday, and now you're an addict. Which is This is the same process though that you see with people. Is they schedule a day and they justify it as okay.
Spontaneous cocaine's okay.
Yeah,
Cocaine Saturday.
I'm just saying.
Schedule it.
I mean, literally, if you were to break that down, though, there's somebody who goes to Vegas 3 times a year and he decides to indulge and party and have a good time, and that's the only time that he does something like that for his body. Well, hey, it's probably not hurting him that bad. But if you're somebody who schedules it every week, and and you feel that you have to put it in there like that, okay, well now I think you have some sort of an issue.
It's really, you want to be as informed as possible before you make any decision, right? So anytime you make a decision, you want to have the most information, the most pertinent information in front of you so you can make the best decision. Now, when it comes to food, most of the information that we have about the food is the taste and how it's going to go in my mouth and that's pretty much it. And so people judge their food based off of the taste. And then maybe they'll judge it based off of, is this going to make me fat or does this fit my macros? More information, but still not enough information. What you want to do is you want to know how food really affects you. And this, unfortunately, takes a little bit of time, but through things like journaling and paying attention and becoming more aware, you can start to realize that these foods affect my digestion. This one makes me break out. This one, I sleep better at night if I eat it. If I feel sad, this one makes me feel better. If I eat this, I get edgy an hour and a half later, whatever. You figure out all these things about the foods that you eat, and then you make your decisions based off that. And like Adam said, sometimes you're in a situation where the decision I want to make is based off of the palatability of the food or the fact that I'm enjoying my company. Other times, most times, what you'll end up finding is most times your decisions will be more like, this is what's best for my body. This is what makes me feel healthiest. This is what gives me the most energy. This is what gives me the best digestion. And then you'll tend to make those decisions based off of that. So information is really, really important. So when people say cheat meals, you can tell that they don't have all the information, because it's like, why do you need a cheat meal?
Yeah.
If you want to eat it, go ahead and fucking eat it.
Right.
If you don't want to eat it, don't eat it. But if you have the right information, then you'll know if you want to eat it or you don't want to eat it, and you can trust that decision.
Next question is from Randy Wheezy22. Are collagen supplements all they say they are?
Now, I picked this question because this is an area that I know has gained a lot of popularity in the last 5 or so years in our space. I really don't remember seeing a lot of talk around this when we first started in fitness, and I feel like there's a major buzz around that, and I know very little about that. So do you know much about this?
Right. So
Yes.
is this because of the lack of organ meat that we've been consuming?
Well, the collagen protein you're going to find a lot in like tendons, sinew, bone,
that type of stuff.
So it's funny because back in the day when they would make protein supplements, like the old school American bodybuilding ones that came in the big bottles,
When they use everything, right? They would grind it all up. It would get
they used to use collagen protein, and then they got called out for using a cheap protein.
Yeah.
Companies would be like, "Oh, whey, they're using collagen. We use whey protein, which is higher in branched amino acids or whatever." And this became a big deal, and the company stopped using collagen protein because it was considered cheap.
How funny is that, dude? And then how we all have come full circle.
Yep.
It's like started off
like the
there.
amino acid thing you brought
And they
up.
would make fun of it because they'd say, "Oh, it's the protein from the assholes and the lips and the eyelids and the They make fun of it, and they would. And I remember seeing ads. I literally remember seeing ads in like Flex magazine where protein companies were making fun of other protein companies for using cheap proteins like collagen, and they were cheaper. They're less expensive. Now everybody's saying collagen's good for you. Here's the thing: like there are different
It's
amino
from paleo. It's got to be.
There are different amino acid profiles in different types of protein, and that's what's going to give that protein certain characteristics. And collagen is very high in proline and glycine, which are lower, much lower in other types of protein. Now, does that make a big difference for you? Well, it might. It might if all of your protein comes from one source. Then you may benefit from supplementing with a protein that's higher in these other amino acids. And so that's where I think some of the benefits come from, because you can actually find studies. They're not the best studies, but you can find studies that show that, people supplementing with collagen protein, their nails grow faster, their hair grows faster. It can help repair the gut because a lot of the amino acid profile of collagen it helps feed the type of profile that you need to build, connective tissue and gut, tissue and that kind of stuff. There's studies that show that when athletes just supplement with whey protein, for example, or whey and collagen, they do better. I just think it's a better full spectrum array of these amino acids. And it makes sense evolutionarily speaking, because I can pretty much guarantee you, 1,000 years ago, and for most of human history, when we killed an animal, we didn't just cut off the sirloin and eat it. We ate the eyeballs, we ate the snout, we ate the bone.
Isn't it weird to think, like, I was thinking about that, and like if people were getting sources, of collagen, or like getting like probably from hot dogs, right? Because they just ground everything together, and then that used to gross everybody out, like to think about. That they grinded all the organ meat and, all the bones and the ligaments and everything together to produce these hot dogs. Yeah. When in fact, that was probably their only source they were getting from organ meat.
It's super processed too.
Of course it's super processed, but I just mean that it's hilarious to me.
So I have some studies here that I pulled up, and there's one study that shows it reduced osteoarthritis symptoms in some people. Now, I don't like the controls for a lot of these because maybe it's just that their protein intake was low. But they found that they had, reduced, there's also skin aging seems to reduce that. But builds muscle and burns body fat. Well, yeah, so does, increasing your regular protein. This is the one. Now, I'm about to read a study that everybody messages me about collagen. And there's a study that shows that type 1 collagen supplementation may reduce cellulite. And so everybody gets all excited about that.
Oh.
I need to look at the study a little deeper to see what that looks like.
Here's where the buzz comes from.
Yeah, I don't. And that's the thing. So here's what the fitness industry does really, really well is they'll take old ideas and turn them into new ideas and then make it
little rebrand, little refresh.
Yeah, so now collagen's like all of a sudden that's what you put in your protein in your coffee with your butter, and it's supposed to be the best thing for you. And here's the good thing about collagen is it's flavorless, so that's kind of cool. You can add it to certain things. Jello. Jello's made with
type
of collagen protein.
Yeah.
You ever look at the back of Jello and wonder why there's 2 grams of protein in there?
Mm-hmm.
You ever? Yeah, it's because it's got that in there.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's got gelatin in there. So
somebody who's eating organ meat, having bone broth, cooking the whole chicken or in a stew every now and then, like, you're probably fine.
You're good.
You're doing those things, you're probably okay. Now, if you neglect to do all those things all the time, right, then it maybe is a beneficial thing that somebody would introduce. As far as teasing it out and saying that it's going to do these wonders for your cellulite. Well, what will do wonders for your cellulite
getting leaner.
Yeah, getting leaner.
Yeah.
That's going to losing body fat is going to do that more than anything
so
else.
You're just getting more of an array of amino acid profiles to
It's just another type of protein. It mixes really easily. It's got different amino acid profile. But
just one more thing we can sell you.
But yeah, I don't think it's a miracle anything at all. To be quite honest, I don't think any proteins are miracle anything. I don't care what kind of protein it is: egg protein, whey protein, dairy, whatever, soy. They're not going to change anything for you unless your protein intake is low.
I was going to say, unless you're vegetarian or vegan, then it is a miracle.
So here, they can't take collagen protein though. See, if you're a vegan, if you're a hardcore vegan,
right,
collagen protein's out of the question because it comes from animal. I think they would benefit tremendously from it though, because they're not getting those things otherwise. But if your protein intake is low, or even if it's not low, but it's not at the upper limit of what studies show give you the benefit, which is 0.6 to 0.8 grams per pound of body weight, then supplementing with protein will give you a benefit. I don't know if it makes a big difference if it's from collagen, whey, egg, or dairy.
Right.
Next question is from Tyler Converse. How can a woman get her hormones back on track after stopping birth control?
This is a big talk.
Ooh, this is an interesting question.
Lately, birth control came onto the scene and completely changed and shifted society in really, really fundamental ways. It liberated women from. It was able to separate the threat of pregnancy from sex, and it changed a lot of things. And people jumped on board, and now finally I'm starting to see this movement of women. And I'm not saying one is right or the other, but you're seeing a lot of women now that are saying, "I won't take birth control." Whereas 15, 20 years ago, you almost never heard that. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because, you're taking hormones.
Yeah.
When you take hormones, the reason why you don't get pregnant is you're tricking your body by taking these hormones. And just like when somebody takes anabolic steroids and your body stops producing its own testosterone, when you're taking, these birth control hormones, your body's hormone production will change as a result of it. And here's the thing with birth control. Women stay on it for years. It's not unheard of for women to be on birth control for 10 years.
Well, would you say that the similar protocol to kind of like what I am having to go through to get my hormones back would be similar to this? I mean, you're trying to mitigate stress and get good rest. You're trying to lift good, make sure that you're eating a balance of fats and carbohydrates in your diet. Like, wouldn't you say that it's probably similar? Like,
yeah,
as far as
statistically, when you look at the statistics, it says that most women 3 months post birth control have their hormones balanced back out. But in my experience working with clients, it can take a lot longer. I know women that didn't get a normal period until
I've had clients over a year.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah.
I know people 2-3 years. It took them that long. Acne is a common one. The irregular periods is a big one where they'll get like no period and then get a crazy period and then get no period for a while as the body tries to balance out. One thing you want to do as a woman to balance out your hormones, besides the obvious stuff that we always talk about, which is like get good sleep, lift weights appropriately, eat a diet that's adequate in all the macronutrients, including fats and carbohydrates. Besides all that, you want to take care of your liver, because your liver is what gets rid of excess estrogen. And if your liver is off, you will have trouble balancing out your hormones. So I recommend what I would typically say to women going off birth control is avoid alcohol, let your liver become healthy. You can try certain supplements that help with hormone, balancing. Vitex is one. I think it's made with chasteberry. Evening primrose oil is another one that you can try. And then do some like liver, some herbs that are good for the liver, like milk thistle, which helps the liver, kind of be healthy. And then here's the other thing. You have to be able to excrete the estrogen through your stool. So you need to make sure you have good, regular bowel movements. They find that chronic constipation can actually contribute to hormone imbalances.
So then make sure your fiber intake is there too, because that's a common thing that I'd have to address in all people. So not just, we're talking about women with birth control, is, probably the two things I would see the most when I would assess a diet is the overconsumption of sugar and actually the underconsumption of fiber. Fiber gets missed a lot unless you're a heavy berry eater already. You do a lot of blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, raspberries. If you're doing a lot of that, and eating a lot of fibrous vegetables, spinach, things like that, kale. But if you're not having those things, if you're not a big spinach, kale, and a berry eater, a lot of time, and even if you do eat that, it takes quite a bit of that to hit a consistent fiber intake that you should be. Mm-hmm. That was like one of the easiest fixes that I would fix on almost any client is adjusting the sugar, dropping it down, increasing fiber, and all of a sudden you notice a huge difference with people. So
who's really good at, in my experience, who's been really good at helping women balance out their hormones post-birth control? Because when I used to own my wellness facility, I think I would say probably 70% of our clients were female. And one of the women that worked in there under my facility also worked on hormones. She also was a hormone specialist. And a lot of her clients were women who had, imbalanced hormones or whatever. Some of them post birth control. And Chinese medicine, they actually responded very, very well to acupuncture and Chinese herbs. And I remember it was like, and some of these women would get so emotional where they'd come in and they'd cry because they finally had a regular period. And it's because a lot of them were trying to get pregnant and they're trying to balance things out. So Chinese medicine's here's the thing too with birth control that's kind of scary, is it masks a lot of potential problems. So sometimes women will, come off birth control and have all these issues and not realize that they have like endometriosis or polycystic ovarian syndrome or something like that. Or they had it before. That's why they're taking the birth control, is to make them feel better. And then those things get worse and then they go off the birth control and it's much, much, much worse afterwards. So these are just some things to keep in mind.
Didn't you say you reached out to somebody to have on the show? Aren't we trying to get somebody right now?
Yeah, I'm trying to get some. There's a couple people. I don't want to say their names yet because we haven't solidified the interview. But there's a couple functional medicine doctors and hormone doctors that I've talked to, who I would love to get on the show to talk about.
Yeah, this would be a great
female hormones.
This would be a fun interview for us to do because even though I've had a lot of experience with clients like this, I would not consider myself an expert in this field whatsoever, and I would love to dig in and ask some questions. And we get a lot of questions like that.
It does seem like hormones is becoming an issue for both men and women. We know that men's testosterone levels have been declining for a long time, and women seem to be having more and more hormone issues. So something's going on. And of course we could say birth control for women, but there's something else too, because guys aren't taking birth control, and our testosterone levels are dropping consistently decade after decade.
Right.
Yeah, a multitude of factors, I'm sure.
Next up is Jazzosaur. Would you date yourself?
Jazzosaur.
Well, Justin, didn't you date yourself this morning?
Yeah.
Or just after?
Justin dates himself every morning.
I wouldn't say dating per se. I would say
loving yourself.
Yeah, more like a fuck buddy. Yeah.
Oh wow!
Just every now and then.
Wow.
So he looks at his hand. He's like, "You slut."
Looking at our partners, looking at all your guys' partners, would you say that they are close to like you, or do you think they're polar opposites? What do you think that you could date someone just like you, personality wise?
Yeah, I think for me, like I see similarities, but then I also see like a completely different mindset and a different like brain, like operating completely different. So Courtney's much more analytical and much more methodical, and like is like needs that like element of control, and like is risk averse, and all these things that I'm not, which it really helps keep me grounded and keeps me in check. So me dating somebody like me would be a fucking nightmare. Yeah, I would hate. After a while, it'd be cool. Be like, yeah, all right, we're hanging out. Like nothing would get done, or like everything would get done all in this like cluster of like mad chaos, and then we'd end up resenting each other, and I don't know. I just don't see that working. Like it would be fun for like a minute, and then you just like hate your significant other because they're just way too much like you.
That's hilarious. Yeah, Jessica and I are pretty similar in a lot of different ways. We like discussing the same things. We both like working out the same way, eating the same way. So we kind of fuel each other, and sometimes that shit gets really hot, and it gets and it also amplifies some of our weaknesses, like we're both really bad with directions, for example. So it's forced me to get better at directions, because if I don't, we will get lost.
Somebody has to.
Like,
right?
No matter where we go, we're going to get lost. Organization-wise, she's a little bit more organized than I am, for sure. But that could definitely be a weakness of the both of us. So, but I think it's good because it's forced us to kind of work on things. I mean, I feel like sometimes I am dating myself with my girl, because we're so similar. It's funny. We'll say certain things, and she'll say things that she does, and or she did as a kid, and I'm like, God, I thought I was the only one that thought that way. So we are very similar, and it does make things pretty awesome because we're so similar and we jive so much. However, when the communication breaks down, we're both very sensitive, and then that can also amplify, and we can get very offended with each other and very angry because because that communication breakdown. But I don't know if I date my actual self. I don't know.
I would. I fucking love myself too. For sure.
I was gonna guess you to.
Yeah, well, shit. I mean, I would say I think Katrina and I are a lot alike in many ways, for sure. We definitely complement each other in other areas, though. I think that we have strengths, and where my weaknesses are, I think, are her strengths. But for the most part, I think what had made the relationship work, it's worked for 8 years, is even like the deepest, darkest sides of me, I feel like she's the first woman that understands it, because there's a part of that in her too. Like, so even the ugliest side of me, I feel like is we share that in common, and we both have this level of self-awareness and that's what makes me say that I could date myself more than anything else. Is as much of an asshole, as much of a pain in the ass that I am, I'm aware of that, right? And I'm not somebody, because I grew up in a home that had poor communication, I've put so much emphasis on that being a very important thing in my relationship, that she has the ability to pretty much say anything she wants to say about me, as mean or as hurtful or as sad or as glaring as it may be. And I can take it. Like, I can take it, and I really will process it. I don't react emotionally. And so because of that, I think that, that's the easier part of dating me, right? I know that the part of me that I think is difficult is I'm very blunt and straightforward. I mean, when we first started dating, I would tell her things like, well, I'm not getting married. I'm not having kids yet. These are the things that I want first. This is what I want to do. And there's no compromise in that. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew where I wanted to be. I was straightforward about that, and there was, no woman before her, and lots of women before her came in and tried to change that, and that's where things would go wrong. And I'd be looking at them after a year or two of dating and say, well, you fucking knew. I told you when we first started dating, this is how I am, and that's not going to change. So I think the fact that Katrina's always respected that, and is not afraid to tell me how it is or about me, I think that we've made it this far and have done so well. And I think she's got that same part about her. You know, I can say things to her very, very blunt. She's not a very sensitive girl. Like I can say things that I've never been able to say to a woman before, things that would make somebody else cry and resent me and hate me. You know, if it's allowed me to speak my mind, which has also given me the freedom to be very truthful and brutally honest. So if there's something that she's doing that I don't like, I can say. And I love that, man. I mean, I think that's, when we talked today about the business and our core values, and, you know, radical honesty it matters so much to me, and finding that in other people like you guys in this business and in a relationship. And so, yeah, you know, I think I could date a female version of me. I would say that she's probably the closest thing to that. We have a ton of stuff in common, and the way we tick is really, really similar. And even times when we get frustrated with each other, there's always this moment of like this pause where it's like, fuck, that other person would handle it the same way. I mean, even one of the first hard conversations we ever had when we first started dating, and, you know, she basically sat me down and said that, you know, hey, you know, I appreciate your honesty and telling me where you're at, you know, relationship wise and stuff like that, but this is where I'm at in my life. And, you know, if we're going to continue this thing on, then these are the things that I want. And the way that she handled it, that was the response back to her. I paused for a long time and I looked back at her and I said, you know, you couldn't have handled me better. Like, that's exactly that. And that was the moment that we had decided, like, we're going to move forward in this relationship. It was just the simple fact that she could say something like that so bluntly to me.
Yeah, I think people can be honest with each other when you know that they love you. You know what I mean? Like if someone's really honest with you and you know they're not coming out of a place of trying to hurt you or hate you, and you know that they love you, then you can typically take the criticism better. I think a lot of times we get our feelings hurt because we feel threatened, like something feels threatened. But when it's someone that's really solid and they say something to you about yourself, then unless you have a really fragile ego, right? Then you can sit there and you can take that criticism. No,
I think that's a very, very good point you're making. I think that many people's, you know, when they say something where they're you know, quote unquote being honest is comes from a place of insecurity, you know, and they're attacking the other person, and, you know, I'm telling them these things because that's the truth and how it is, but really
trying to take them down a couple pegs.
Right. It's really like that where, you know, I don't feel that way at all. You know, I say things a lot of times that I know hurt people's feelings or offend them, but when I say it, it comes from a good place. You know, like if I say something, it's like, this is how I feel. This is what I'm thinking. And it's not coming from an insecurity. I'm not trying to attack you. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm not trying to put you down. You ask me a question, and I'm going to tell you 100% how I feel within no emotions.
Well, your own perception can be so skewed and so subjective that it's nice to have a partner that can be your objective other eyes or your other opinion, you know? You know, when they can tell you, hey, look, you know, when you're doing something, you're like, oh, I'm doing so good. And they can take you aside and say, listen, I know you feel like right now you're doing great, but you're actually not. You know, here's a situation. I can see that you're doing these things or whatever. To have someone you trust where you can sit down and be like, well, I'm going to trust that person's opinion and what they're saying. That is a very, very powerful partnership, because I don't care how smart and self-aware you think you are, there's a level of blindness that you have for yourself.
That's to me, that's part of having ultimate self-awareness, is recognizing that you have that still, that you still have a bias.
You just don't see it.
Because it's you, which when you have a partner like that, which Katrina 100% is this woman, many times, you know, and I have lots of hard conversations in the day where I'm dealing with, you know, coworkers or dealing with business deals, and, you know, I say something and I feel very good that, like, that's how I wanted to come across. I'm certain of that. But I still will ask her, like, what do you think? You know, what did you think of that? Oh, you know, I think that you did this well, you did that well, but I think you didn't do so well here. You could have done this better. And because I respect her on that level, that, like you said, that she's coming from a place of love. It's not to slight me or slide me or knock me down or put me down. It's being objective. And
oh man, Jessica was for me, she was so instrumental in helping me go through this process of, you know, changing how I parent my kids, because she was able to be very objective, and I trust her, and she's able to say to me things like, well, look, I think the way you're treating this situation may be because, you feel a little bit guilty, or maybe because you want them to always be happy, but remember they're kids and sometimes they're not going to be that happy, and that's okay. And I take a sip, I take a step back and I hear what she's saying and I trust her. And so I kind of like, okay, I'm going to trust you. And then you start to see what they saw, and you're like, okay, shit. Cause I wonder how many things in life I went through and did thinking I was doing the right thing when maybe people around me knew it wasn't, and they just didn't tell me. Right. You know what I mean? Or maybe I wouldn't have listened if they did anyway. I'm sure that would have been the case, right? Yeah. And how much time I could have saved and how much heartache I could have saved.
Well, it's interesting too, because like the best part of it is, the honesty that you guys are talking about, between you share with your partner, but like, even the flexibility I've had to pursue risky things, and the support that I've had with that has been amazing, to where, but there's still that element that she brings in that's like, okay, well, like logistics, okay, but here's how we're still going to pay bills. And here's how, all this stuff is still going to work, on paper. Meanwhile, you're pursuing these crazy ass ideas, right? But it was never like a prevention of it. And it's more of like a perfect amount of caution that I need to hear.
Right. If you're dating, I think if we were truly dating ourselves, they would be the most ultimate supportive person possible, right? Because it's yourself, right? No one wants you to win more than you, right? You know what I'm saying? So finding a partner that is a lot like yourself, I think I know they say opposites attract, and I think there's many opposite traits in all the girls that we are with. Yeah. But then there is also a side of them that is very much so a lot alike, and very much so.
I think there's a lot more alike than there is different. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Like, I think you have to be. You have to
have the same values and have similar goals. Otherwise you're moving in two different directions. You know what I mean? It just makes it, but it is at the end of the day, if you know that is, that your partner is there and gonna be there no matter what, it gives you a sense of strength that is hard to quantify. You know what I mean? If you can go forward and do your best and try your hardest, but if you fail or you fall, that person's going to stay with you and they're there. Mm-hmm. That only makes you do a better job. It makes you stronger. At least coming from, and this maybe, I'm sure everybody feels this, but, as a man, when I know my girl's there and she's got my back, and no matter what happens, I feel so much more powerful. Yeah. And I think that's one of the most important things.
Now, objectively speaking, can you guys look at and say what like the single most difficult thing would be about dating yourself? Like, what is like if your girls were to say like, oh, this is Justin's pain, the biggest pain in the ass part of Justin is this. Do you know what that is? Does something ring a bell? Like what Courtney would say or what Jessica would say is the biggest pain in the ass?
There's a lot.
I'm
sure. I'm difficult.
It's probably for me is I'm very observant and communicative, and I could be a pain in the ass with that. So like if, and I would probably get on my own nerves. Like, are you sure you should eat that? Because it bothers this. And, well, maybe you should go to bed earlier tonight. But like, shut the fuck up and let me, you know what I mean? I could totally be that kind of person sometimes. So I could see how that would be kind of annoying.
I'm very bullheaded. Like, I'm very hard-headed. And, like, to get me to do something different is very challenging, especially if I have it in my mind that I'm doing something. You pretty much can't convince me otherwise. So, and she'll go on for days about that and what that means. But I'm definitely like, it's tough. It's a tough thing to deal with somebody like that, that has a very clear vision of what they want and what they want to accomplish or whatever it is I'm definitely, I try to work on that all the time. So I'm more open to suggestion and, looking at things with different perspective, but that could be a flaw of mine for sure.
What about you, Adam?
You
almost skipped that one out.
I put it on you guys, right? Well, I've always, I say this on the show all the time, right? That your greatest strength is your greatest weakness. So I think it fits here for me too. Is one of my greatest strengths, or probably one of the attributes that she loves most about, is the radical honesty. But the caveat with that is that I also am so honest that I'm not very sensitive, right? So because I care, so I take so much pride in being honest about things and honest about my feelings and speaking my mind, that I don't always take into consideration probably her feelings or thinking about like, oh yeah, well, maybe a white lie would be good right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it makes me and not just so, and because I know she appreciates that even when it's the hard answers. It makes me just, in general, it makes me not a very sensitive person. I'm not, I'm bad with that stuff, really bad. I mean, she just hurt her back the other day. And, you know, I when I go down or I got issues, stuff like that, I'm a big baby. She totally takes care of me. And because she's such a rock, I don't, you know, she doesn't whine like that. She's not needy. It's why we work too, because she's not. I mean, because she's not that person, and so she doesn't need it. But there's the few times that she does. And I tend to miss those times, you know. I'm always having to be actively thinking about that, of being more considerate and empathetic and working on the sensitive side of me, because I can be. That's feeding into the strength of being this brutal, straightforward dude, you know.
Yeah, you think you're really sensitive. Check it out. If you go to mindpumpfree.com, you can get any of our guides for free, just like the site says. Mindpumpfree.com. Get some free guides.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes, and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.